All right, I got a few requests in the comments to talk about some of the different talent builds you can play in M+, so I figured I'd just go over it in a video. Um, at this point in the season, there are really only kind of four talents that I'll move around between dungeons, but the three that I like to move around the most are going to be Twist the Knife, Sanguine Blades, and Iron Wire. So if you don't know how Twist the Knife works, basically after you envenom, you get a buff that increases your poison application chance by 30%. This is part of envenom, this isn't part of the talent. But the TDLDR of Twist the Knife is that it's going to make that buff 2 seconds longer, but it's also going to allow that buff to stack up to 2 times. So instead of 30% poison chance, you're going to get a 60% poison chance when those envenom buffs are overlapping. This is very helpful for your burst damage because it's going to allow you to ramp up Kingsbane faster. This is good for your splash damage because all those poisons are going to caustic spatter onto nearby enemies. It's a pretty strong talent. Um, I'm going to put a link down to another YouTuber's channel called Whisper. He is a very, very knowledgeable assassination rogue. Um, if you aren't following him already, he's a great resource. If I'm a high school math teacher when it comes to assassination rogue, he's kind of the Albert Einstein. He, I would definitely recommend his channel to every assassination rogue trying to get better. He really knows his stuff. But anyways, back to how I pick my talents. Um, the way I break it down is kind of Twist the Knife is my single target talent. If I want to do more single target damage, Sanguine Blades is going to be my AoE talent. If I want to do more AoE, and Iron Wire is kind of my utility talent. And so if I switch over to my Chrome tab here, can kind of just show what that looks like visually, right? So this first one here is no Iron Wire, right? So this is going to be Twist a Knife plus Sanguine Blades. And pretty obviously, it's going to be the top damage because we're dropping our utility talent, right? So, but here, right below that, is Iron Wire plus Twist a Knife. So this is like we're right, getting a little bit more utility, losing some AoE, and we lose a little bit of single target, but not a big deal. And then there's Iron Wire plus Sanguine. We're losing our single target talent for some AoE and some utility. And obviously, that has a big impact on our single target. 4.5% is a lot. So, knowing that, knowing kind of how it impacts our single target damage, knowing Sanguine Blades is really good for AoE, Iron Wire is really good for utility, how does that play into actually making a decision when you're going into a key? Um, what I like to do, there's a couple factors I look at. So the first is pug versus what I call a Discord group, right? Where it's me and my friends, we're all in comms, calling out kicks. But pretty obviously here, anytime I'm in a pug, I'm going to be favoring Iron Wire. The utility is just like too strong in groups where you're not sure if people are going to do their job. And certain dungeons, it's like an instant lock in for a pug, right? Like Stone Vault. If I'm pugging Stone Vault, I'm taking Iron Wire 100%. I don't care what my team composition looks like. Grim Batol, pretty strong chance that I'm taking Iron Wire going into that dungeon in a pug group. Um, but after like pug versus Discord group, the next thing I'm kind of looking at is again the team composition. So a couple examples of this is if we pick up an Augvoker, instantly that's gonna do two things. One, it's gonna deprioritize Iron Wire because Aug has a lot of stops. They have a knockup as part of their rotation. They have oppressing roar, making our AoE stun stronger. But the other thing that's going to make me prioritize is my single target damage. Although Aug is less reliant this season than they have been on the past for the other DPS doing damage, they're still pretty dependent on the other DPS. As far as like in single target, you really notice when you have an AUG because the bosses are going to take you longer. Obviously, you're all going to be a lot tankier, so it's easier to get through the boss, but you really don't want to be giving up single target damage when you have an AUG in your group. You need that damage going into the boss fights. Um, Another class where I'm going to start prioritizing Twist and Knife is Rep Paladin. Rep Paladin has to give up a lot of their single target damage to get pick up their AoE on the M plus side of the house. You'll notice a lot of Rep Paladins aren't topping the meters going into single target or into like the single target boss situations. So if I'm running with a Rep Paladin or an AUG, I'm favoring Twist and Knife. Where I favor Sanguine Blades is when I'm running with my Survival Hunter friend, who is very good at his class. He does a lot of boss damage. I feel pretty good that I could drop Twist the Knife in those scary dungeons like Stone Vault for Ironwire when I'm running with him specifically, right? And that's kind of where it's like the personal decisions come into play. Depending on who you're running with, you can kind of make those same decisions based on where your group struggles. Like if your group's always struggling with boss fights, right? I'm going to take Twist the Knife. If your group seems to be lacking in AoE, you take Sanguine Blades. Um, Ultimately, there's a lot of small variations you can make in the talent build, and you can play around with it, and you're not gonna, as long as you're not doing something like dropping venomous wounds, you it's hard to shoot yourself in the foot, I would say. The only other talent I want to talk about before I wrap this up is Double Vanish. I don't run Double Vanish. I know a lot of other rogues do. I think it's good. I think it feels good too. Like if you want to run Double Vanish, you absolutely should. The only dungeon I'm going to run it in is Dawnbreaker, and that's for the second boss specifically because I think it's really good at burning down the ads. Having two vanishes to get out all of your ruptures as those ads come out just feels really good. It makes the boss a lot smoother. And so that's pretty much the only dungeon I'm running Double Vanish this season. But if you want to run it every dungeon, you absolutely can. And since they buffed Subterfuge to work with Master Assassin, I think it's really strong too. So, but that's it. Just again, thanks everyone for watching. Hopefully this helps someone, and good luck out there.